Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, the series kicks off at the dead of night, with a mysterious lady supposedly slaying our MC, Tomokui Kanata, who is unable to stop his own death. Upon opening his eyes, our MC spots an elder goblin in front of him, hearing the old goblin give our MC the name of Gobru. As the elder goblin force feeds Gobru some insects, Gobru falls asleep, waking up the next day, only to spot several other baby goblins around him, helplessly crying. Another day has passed, and Gobru is surprised that goblins mature so fast, heading out towards the sunlight as various other goblins watch. With the fourth day arriving, the elder goblin states that this will be the last meal they will receive, as they will have to hunt for their own food moving forward. As Gobru savors the delicious grubs, Gobru once again heads towards the light, amazed to be in the middle of a forest where mysterious birds fly in the sky, along with the various unknown plants that surround their home. Gobru greets a fellow goblin, Gobkichi, purposely teaming up with one of the more athletic goblins to hunt down their next meal together. As Gobkichi scares a horned rabbit towards Gobru, Gobru manages to knock out the rabbit, but catches Gobkichi trying to eat without him, disciplining Gobkichi. As Gobru extracts the horn from the rabbit, he suddenly hears a voice in his head, brushing the voice aside, as Gobkichi and Gobru finally feast on the rabbit's flesh. With the fifth day arriving, the duo repeat the hunting process, but Gobru manages to make use of the previous rabbit's horn to slay another rabbit. Once again, Gobru hears a strange voice in his head, but once again brushes it aside, feasting on their prey. Just then, Gobru is notified that he has learnt the skill escape, realizing that he has the skill to absorb the traits of anything he eats, just like how he did in his previous life. As the two continue to hunt more food, Gobru notes how none of his skills carried on from his previous life, but is perfectly fine, as there are plenty of monsters in the forest. On day 6, the other goblins learn of Gobkichi and Gobru's success hunting horned rabbits, with Gobmi in particular revealing that a goblin brethren was slain by a horned rabbit the other day. Seeing as Gobmi is so amazed at Gobru's success hunting, Gobru offers Gobmi to join them hunting the next day, earning him a big hug from Gobmi. Sadly, due to it raining, Gobru postpones their next hunt, heading deeper into their cave's storage room to search for weapons. Upon spotting in particular, Gobru heads back outside beginning to craft a weapon, but reveals that he had seen some captured human women inside a storage room, not wanting to think about their reason for being there. Just then, the elder goblin Gobji approaches, telling Gobru that he'll level up pretty fast, revealing that Gobru can see his level by tapping his head. Apparently Gobji is level 86, adding that upon hitting level 100 a goblin can evolve into a hobgoblin, but utters that goblins normally age too quickly to even reach such a feat, as Gobji himself has only been alive for 20 years. As he leaves, he states that a fellow hobgoblin should be returning from a nearby village soon, creepily grinning at what prey the hobgoblin will bring home. On day 8, Gobmi is seen assisting the hunt by attacking from long range, all whilst Gobru focuses on attacking mid-range prey, only for Gobkichi to deal with any prey at close range. As the trio enjoy their spoils from the hunt, Gobru is notified that he has learnt the skills, Thermography, Venom, Venom Resistance, Search and Evil Eye. Throughout the 9th and 10th day, the trio continued to hunt and feast, but on the 11th, the gang accidentally stumbled into a cave with hundreds of bats. As Gobru orders Gobmi to flee, Gobkichi holds up a shield for Gobru, allowing Gobru to activate his Evil Eye skill, freezing the bats in place, allowing the gang to slay the bats. Gobru acquires Echolocation, Vamp Up and Venephilia, from eating the bats, but at the same time, fellow goblins jealously watch from afar. That night, several goblins wake up in the middle of the night to attack Gobru, but having had his search skill active, Gobru attacks the 6 goblins with his horn, but when Gobmi found out they were attacking Gobru, she mercilessly put the goblins to sleep. On the 13th day, our trio faced an orc, forced to disarm the orc first, only to deal the finishing blow. Acquiring Libido, Orc Language, Detect Analyze from the orc, Gobru reasons he should share his food with the other goblins, noting that he has definitely changed from his previous life, as he would have never helped the weak in his previous life. That night, Gobru receives various messages, telling Gobru that he has met the conditions to evolve, but not wanting to waste his precious sleep. Gobru simply agrees to evolve, heading back to sleep. On day 14, Gobru wakes up, shocked to see his new body, but is even more amazed to see that his face resembles his previous life's. Seeing Gobkichi has evolved as well, Gobni is ecstatic for them, impressing Gobji as it has only been a month since they were born. Seeing as both are excited to test out their new bodies, they both agree to a duel, both heading outside to spar. As Gobkichi throws the first punch, Gobru nonchalantly blocks the strike, both trading blows, only for Gobru to slip Gobkichi's next punch, only to trip Gobkichi, making Gobru the winner. They both acknowledge how far they've grown, but suddenly they both hear loud cries off in the distance, prompting Gobru to call for Gobni to reveal herself, asking Gobni to grab her crossbow. Out on a large field, we see various horned rabbits being devoured by a pack of wolves, even managing to slay an orc flawlessly. With Gobru and Gobkichi in position, Gobru signals for Gobni to fire the first shot directly at the pack leader, drawing the wolves' attention, only for Gobru and Gobkichi to begin slaying the wolves, with the pack leader running off. Our trio are able to easily dismantle the pack of wolves, but as things wrap up, Gobru is confronted by the wolves' leader, but luckily the leader drops dead due to blood loss. Devouring the leader, Gobru obtains Wild Hunt, Hide Armor and Order, making use of it to become a leader. As Gobru brings back the wolves to feed the rest of the goblins, Gobru states that he expects to be repaid, prompting the fellow goblins to beg Gobru to train them how to hunt. With Gobru gladly offering to train them, the fellow goblins begin chanting and praising Gobru, giving Gobru a clear idea of what he needs to do moving forward. Gobru states that he plans to train his fellow goblins, all whilst devouring more skills himself, but as day 17 arrives, Gobru is seen exhausted with the amount of work he has on his plate. Upon heading back home, Gobru spots Gobni has finally evolved. Later that day, both Gobru and Gobji pray for the deaths of the captured human women, as they had chosen to take their own lives with a poison. With day 26 already arriving, Gobru continues to train the other goblins, scolding Gob for trailing behind, but also notes that he himself has been devouring and stealing skills from more monsters in the forest. Just then, Gobru senses several beings approaching, readying his blade to slay them, but Gobji intervenes, revealing that they are allies. Seeing the various hobgoblins, Gobru watches as Gobji greets Hobkin, praising the Hobkin for capturing more women. Gobru reveals that goblin DNA can override human DNA, therefore when human and goblins mate, the children birthed will ultimately be a goblin. Unable to stand the sight of the petrified women, Gobru asks if he can take care of the captured women, but Hobkin gets pissed, grabbing Gobru by the collar. Seeing this, both Gobru and Hobkin's armies prepare to fight, but just then Hobzato and Hobsei the mage defuse the situation. As a compromise, Hobzato suggests that Gobru and Hobkin duel for the right to rule, but Gobru is easily able to defeat Hobkin, having used a web skill to restrain Hobkin. With Gobji and the others surprised that Gobru was hiding such a skill, Gobru declares that he'll decide the fate of the human women, secretly telling the girls that he'll take care of the girls and if they behave he'll allow them to return to their village. In exchange for their safety, the women reveal that they were part of a traveling business, but were unfortunately attacked, being the only women that survived, which haunts them still. The next day, Gobru arrives with food, learning that humans can't evolve like goblins and instead obtain special jobs. The short brown hair is an appraiser and a smith. The two blonde sisters are cooks and tailors. The green hair seems to be an alchemist and the red hair seems to be a rookie warrior. Heading back to train his goblin army, Gobru has Hobkin's men train with his army, scolding the cocky goblins for acting all tough, reasoning that they should continue focusing on training before hunting. On day 31, since it was raining, Gobru and Gobkichi put on a show, shocking everyone as they watched the boys move. That night whilst everyone sleeps, Hobkin and his men begin approaching the human women's, but before Hobkin can lay his hands on them, Gobru intervenes, beating and tying the men up. Before Hobkin can spout more of his nonsense, Gobru kicks Hobkin, apologizing to the girls that break down crying. With Gobkichi and some others waking from the commotion, Gobru orders Hobkin and his men to be dragged outside, publicly executing Hobkin and his men's, only to calmly ask if everyone understood the rules. On day 32, Gobru and his party finally begin hunting again, running into a tri-horned horse, which has tough scales. Gobru is forced to tie up the horse, giving them an opening to dismantle and slay the horse. From the horse, Gobru learns the skills: Scaled Drive, Scaled Horse's Cry, Quick Healing, Kick Proficiency, Pierce, Proficiency Up and Triple Thrust, a skill that allows Gobru to deal 3 times the normal damage. That night, Gobru is woken up by the red-haired girl sharing a bed with him, feeling bad as the redhead must have been scared. Surprisingly, on day 33, Gobru awoke with the redhead and Gobni sleeping beside him, rushing out of bed only to learn that Gob had evolved into a hobgoblin, having been carrying his party's gear during hunts. Reviewing his army's progress, Gobkichi is captain of the armored fighters, Gobni Mons the ranged unit, Hobzato handles mobile goblins, Gob leads the rear support and Hobse is the village's lone mage. Seeing as everything at base is running smoothly, Gobru heads deeper into the forest to explore, running into another tri-horned horse. Conjuring a dark magic spell, Gai Durg, Gobru propels the spell at the horse, instantly decapitating it. Shocked at how strong he is, Gobru heads deeper north, spotting a trail of blood, only to remember that Gobji had warned the goblins of a powerful crimson bear that lived north of the forest. Just then the crimson bear appears, sending shivers through Gobru's body, but even though he knows he should run, Gobru gets excited at getting to fight and consume such a monstrous creature. Getting serious, Gobru conjures his dark magic spell once more, dual-wielding his axe and shield, only to engage the bear. Back at base, Gobni worries that Gobru is staying out too late, prompting Gob to ask around, reporting that the others have yet to see Gobru since this morning. As Gobru fires his spell, Gobru is shocked to see the crimson bear sacrifice its arm, to prevent a lethal blow. Going on the offense, the bear begins cleaving his surroundings with its claw, something Gobru knows he should avoid at all cost. Seeing an opening, Gobru leaps forward to decapitate the bear, but his axe barely cuts the bear's skin, leaping back. Trying a different tactic, Gobru makes use of his silk to restrain the bear, but out of nowhere, the crimson bear unleashes a breath of flames, consuming the surrounding forest with fire. As the bear slowly walks away, Gobru is revealed to have evaded the explosion, slowly regenerating his wounds. Knowing that he'll have to get in close, Gobru reveals himself, taunting the bear to unleash its breath of fire once more. Casting a barrier, Gobru dashes towards the bear's mouth, puncturing the inside of the bear's mouth, but sadly the bear uses the opportunity to land a powerful swipe, sending Gobru flying. Having barely survived, Gobru notes that his blade is preventing the bear from breathing more fire, revealing that he'll surely die if he gets struck again. But upon seeing the bear's determination, Gobru rushes towards the bear, evading its initial slash, leaping into air, only to pierce the bear's neck from behind. Seeing that the bear is now pissed, Gobru takes advantage of the bear's sporadic movements, both rushing towards each other. With day 34 arriving, Gobru sits alone having won the duel, but has received a fatal blow from the bear. Devouring the bear meat, Gobru obtains the skill's heavy damage, overpowering strength, but slowly growing weak, Gobru falls unconscious. Just then the voice in his head notifies Gobru that he has once again completed the conditions to evolve, mindlessly accepting. Waking up on day 35, Gobru begins devouring the rest of the bear, gaining the skills: Howl of the Mountain Lord, threatening Glint and All Tolerance, but stops himself, realizing that his weapons are suddenly so small. Upon returning the village, Gobni scolds Gobru for being so reckless, but Gobji is more impressed that Gobru was able to defeat the Crimson Bear, the master of the northern forest, only to evolve into an ogre. With everyone calming down, Gobni and the redhead follow Gobru to their storage room, accidentally scaring the girls who seem to like how Gobru looks, but Gobni seems jealous. Returning his beaten-up axe to the blacksmith, Gobru is pleased to hear that the blacksmith had also crafted a knife for him, prompting Gobru to reward the blacksmith with a head pat, but Gobru does find it weird that Gobni and the redhead are pinching him. Next, Gobru hears that the sisters need some help, so Gobru says he'll ask 3 female goblins to help the sisters where needed, impressing Gobru as the girls seem to have integrated into their goblin society easily. Having a random thought, Gobru wonders if the sisters would love to be married one day, but upon seeing the sisters' flustered attitudes, the redhead and Gobni smack Gobru out of jealousy. Heading elsewhere, Gobru greets the alchemist, spotting a vial of potion, curious as to what the alchemist intends to do with the poison. The alchemist admits that she had planned to use it as protection, but seeing as Gobru and the other goblins are friendly, the alchemist says she plans to dispose of it. Changing topics, the alchemist praises Gobru's new looks, getting excited and giddy when Gobru picks her up. Sadly, Gobru noticed the redhead and Gobni glaring at him, ultimately forced to spend more time with the girls than he had anticipated. On day 36, Gobru continues to spar other goblins, but sadly his light punches would severely damage his fellow goblins, having easily shattered Gobkichi's armor. As Gobru begins healing the other goblins, Gobru spots Gobkichi storm off, wondering what happened. Later that day, Gobni and Hobzato went to hunt together. Gob and other goblins began mining for rare stones, and the redhead had continued to hone her skills. As for Gobru, he's seen sewing something beside Hobse, who's impressed Gobru as is still active even though his left arm had been devoured by the bear. Gobru asks Hobse if she thinks Gobkichi will be fine, but Hobse simply states that it's up to Gobkichi to catch up to Gobru. Changing topics, Gobru asks for his book back, but Hobse simply ignores him. With day 37 arriving, Gobru continues with his morning training, but during lunch, Gob suddenly rushes to report that she had found a carbuncle severely injured. When Gobru tries to heal the carbuncle, he realizes that they need the help of the alchemist to make up for all the blood lost. Later that day, the carbuncle wakes up, grateful to be saved by complete strangers, only to learn how she got here. The carbuncle reveals its name to be Returner, and was attacked by humans not too long ago, having such a rare stone on her head worth upwards of 1 billion gold. Desperate, Returner begs Gobru to chase off the adventurers pursuing her, as she herself is an ancient artifact created by the legendary mage, Velvet, whilst also being the guardian of her master's treasury. Returner utters that her core was damaged when the humans attacked, meaning access to the hidden treasury with sacred artifacts may be sealed forever. Returner states that she is willing to hand over the treasury to monsters rather than humans, which Gobru is pleased by, calling for everyone to gather around. Gobru declares that they'll all be heading towards the treasury, asking for the spirit stone knife the blacksmith had recently crafted, reassuring the human girls that they will try scaring the other human off before they resort to violence. With everyone making it to the golden treasury, Gobru orders everyone else to hide, whilst he tries to speak with the humans first. Sadly, the humans end up finding Gobru first, reasoning that they should slay the monsters in their way, and only then will they get their treasure. Spotting an invisible assassin approaching, Gobru nonchalantly blocks the assassin's strike, scolding the adventurers for attacking and robbing from the innocent. Refusing to listen to Gobru, the adventurers begin barraging Gobru with strikes, forcing Gobru to evade, detecting that there are 3 mages that are capable of high-quality magic. Gobru notices that the attack patterns of the adventurers are sloppy, annoying Gobru, but this leaves him wide open to be hit by some lightning magic. Sadly, the level 3 lightning spell doesn't damage Gobru, but having had enough, Gobru calls for the others to attack, ultimately stripping and devouring the adventurers. Gobru gains the jobs of an assassin, crusader, guardian, high wizard, priest and enchanter. Upon seeing the rare gear, Gobru chose to consume the gear as well, gaining status concealment and item box, which allows Gobru to store up to 1200 items with 99 copies each. With the promise fulfilled, Returner leads Gobru to the Velvet's treasury where Gobru spots Velvet's corpse, learning that Velvet was skilled with spirit communication. Seeing as the Returner's life is coming to an end as well, Gobru chooses to consume the Returner's stone, gaining the skill Golden Order. As Gobkichi checks up on Gob, the others begin moving the loot in the treasury into Gobru's item box. As for the corpse of Velvet, Gobru chose to cremate it. Surprisingly, Velvet's corpse left behind a glove which Gobru equipped, being a substitute for his missing left arm. As the gang head home, Gobru decides to throw a party celebrating their gains so far, and throughout day 38, Gobru and the blacksmith inspect the various legendary items. On day 39, Gobru handed out items to the 15 other hobgoblins, personally keeping the Vermilion Spear, Kaziklu Bay, the Magic Bracelet, Solitary Fury and his already equipped, Silver Arm, totaling 3 legendary artifacts, the second highest ranking items. That afternoon, everyone worked together to hunt down and make bear stew, but Gobru is concerned that the red hair didn't help out. On day 40, Gobru decides to hold a tournament to rank the hobgoblins. On day 41, Gobru set out to slay the golden spider, devouring and learning the skills goldthread and golden spider shell. Next was slaying the red deer with rose quartz antlers, but as Gobru explored the forest, he ran into a massive tree, realizing that the tree is home to dryads that seduce and suck the life force out of male species, something he learnt from Gobji. Just then a dryad appears before him, beginning to press against and seduce Gobi, but seeing as he can't hold back his temptation, Gobru makes use of a skill, indulging in his temptations and satisfying the dryad. Afterwards, Gobru heads to a nearby waterfall to wash off, but runs into lizardmen, slaying and learning the skills aquatic life and lizardmen language. Gobru ended the day with slaying a bull, making use of his left arm. On day 42, Gobru had found out that 2 goblins were capable of magic, assigning Hobsei to teach the goblins, but gets scared seeing how happy Hobsei is. Moving on, Gobru learns enchantment magic from the blacksmith, but wonders why the blacksmith, Gobni and the redhead are all mad at him. Shocked to see that the sisters are trying to poison him, Gobru learns from the alchemist that the girls are jealous, realizing that the dryad had left hickeys on his neck. Just then the alchemist leans in for a kiss, offering to do the deed with Gobru as well, but just then, Gobni, the redhead and the other girls offer to join in as well, all whilst Gobkichi and Gob are kept outside with some golden threading. On day 44, Gobru reveals that his search skill has improved so much, able to detect and discern approaching enemies he's encountered before, heading outside to greet some cocky elves. When Gobru demands to know what the elves want, the elves begin arrogantly scolding Gobru for not being grateful, but Gobru knows that the elves are asking for help against the humans that are preparing to attack. With Gobji and Gobru hearing that the elves will reward the goblins for their help, Gobji notes how it isn't a bad deal, but suddenly Gobru declines. Gobru states that the elf better be more sincere when asking for help, but as one of the elves begins to draw his blade, Gobru unleashes his petrifying gaze, bringing the elves to their knees. Swiftly picking up the leader of the elves by the neck, Gobru demands the leader halt his hidden elves from firing any arrows, but out of nowhere Gobru manages to catch an incoming arrow with his jaw. Seeing Gobru pissed, the elf leader calls his men to cease fire, but Gobru unveils his vermilion spear, stating that he's perfectly fine with teaming up. Stabbing the spear into the ground, Gobru conjures hundreds of spears that surround every elf within a 100-meter vicinity, something that ultimately scares the elves into retreating. On day 45, Gobru heads out to hunt 20 gray slimes, consuming them and obtaining the skills, physical attack resistance, auto-replication, fluid regeneration. Biting his finger, Gobru uses some blood to summon a mini-clone that allows him to see through and share senses, suddenly getting an idea. On day 46, Gobru asks the girls to create several pieces of clothing with Gobru's blood. This way Gobru will be alerted if anything happens to the girls, leading to day 47 where Gobru has spotted the elves returning using one of his clones. As the elves march towards the entrance of the goblins' cave, Gobru immediately activates his howl, once again freezing them in place, only to bind the elves with his silk. Interrogating the elves inside the cave, Gobru notices that most of the elves are apologetic, having tried to stop the elf leader, but the elf leader continues to be cocky, stating that he intends to punish Gobru for the other day. Annoyed, Gobru states that the elf leader will be put to death. As for the remaining elves, Gobru gives them a chance to live if they can each defeat one of Gobru's goblins. Surprisingly, out of 23 elves, only 6 failed to pass, but Gobru had secretly fixed the matches to have 6 male elves fail, consuming the 6 elves only to gain Resident of Evergreen, Elementaler, knowledge of archery, tracking, hiding. Sadly, Gobru announces that the remaining elves will have to surrender their weapons, stating that they will be kept as prisoners. When the elves voice how Gobru lied, Gobru reminds the elves that they tried attacking the goblins first, but spotting Gobji getting excited upon seeing so many female elves. Gobru reminds Gobji that no one is to touch the elves, but allows Gobji to at least satisfy himself. As Gobru finally slays the elves' leader, we cut to day 48 where Gobkichi has finally managed to solo a bear, reaching level 100, where he finally unveils his new body on day 49. With Gobru and Gobni impressed, we learn that Gobkichi evolved into a special variant with dark red skin as a blessing from the demigod of flame and a thick layer of muscle as a blessing from the demigod of war. Gobkichi states that it's been a while since they both sparred, prompting both to head outside, both exchanging devastating blows with neither falling, but ultimately Gobru manages to outlast and topple Gobkichi. As Gobru and the others train all day, we see Gobru later that day stumbling through the cave, exhausted from sparring, only to spot a figure approaching. As the figure reaches out to give Gobru something, Gobru is suddenly seen waking up on day 51, dragged out of bed by Gob, learning that Gobkichi have inspired 4 new goblins to evolve into hobgoblins. The alchemist reveals that one of the hobgoblins can become a mage, whilst another can be a cleric, introducing Gobji, who promises to heal his fellow goblins. Gobru also notes how Hobse has also evolved this morning, having grown into the Lord family as a half-spell lord, but seeing Hobse's markings, Gobru wonders if they are the same markings on his body as well. Excited, Hobse states she wants to try out her new powers, heading outside only to begin conjuring multiple fireballs, simultaneously releasing multiple fireballs. Hobse announces she could keep going, but seeing Hobse has already destroyed the surrounding, Gobru asks that Hobse hold back for now. Seeing as Hobse is already a half-spell lord, Gobru deduces that Hobse will become a full spell lord by next evolution, so as a reward for evolving, Gobru suits Hobse up with some equipment. Jealous, Hobzato promises to catch up, but at the same time, Gobru reasons that everyone's sudden evolution is because of a catalyst like himself, speculating that the environment goblins grow up in within the first month dictate their future, but knows that some goblins weren't as lucky as others. On day 52, Gobru and Gobkichi return from slaying a horse, running into some hobgoblins that declare they are leaving the village, having been replaced by more skilled younger goblins. Seeing the hobgoblins prepare to leave by force, Gobru diffuses the situation, stating that he has nothing against the hobgoblins leaving since the hobgoblins haven't taken anything other than their own gear. As a parting gift, Gobru gives the goblins a mithril blade that can even harm Gobru. Cutting to day 53 where Gobru had encountered a human being dragged along by an orc. Intervening, Gobru slays the orc, but consumes the human, learning the rare skill Monster Tamer. That night, Gobru meets with the alchemist, who unveils the product Gobru has been yearning for, alcohol. On day 54, Gobru reveals that various hobgoblins from the previous generation have left for their own journey, offering the remaining goblins to do the same, but upon seeing no one take the offer, we cut to day 55 where Gobru is seen crafting earrings with his blood to help with communication. On day 56, Gobru began testing the communication earrings, choosing to make more, but on day 57 Gobru was amazed to hear that Gob managed to slay a tri-horned horse alone, but upon inspecting the horse, realized it was unconscious. Making use of his Monster Tamer skill, Gobru announces the horse as their first familiar, cutting to day 58 where Gobru is seen chasing a pack of black wolf with the help of his new pet bear, ending the day by taming the leader of the wolf pack and stationing it to protect the human girls. On day 59, Gobru was amazed to see the redhead manage to slay 3 kobolds all by herself, but as the two sit down to have a snack, the redhead is suddenly notified of a class change. Easily catching up and slaying a deer, the redhead reveals her new class, Noir Soldat, a class that forces the redhead to consume monsters often or she'll perish, but in exchange her rate of growth becomes exponential. That evening, Gobru learns from Gobji that more of his goblins have been attacked by humans, but this makes Gobru declare the war between humans and elves will begin soon, cutting to day 60, when Gobru is awoken, having detected multiple entities chasing hundreds of kobolds into their cave. Allowing the kobolds to take shelter for now, Gobru spots hundreds of skeletons chasing the kobolds, realizing that their arrows have no effect on the skeletons. With the horde of skeletons rushing towards them, Gobru manages to detect a powerful presence summoning the skeletons, but unable to focus on it, Gobkichi and Hobzato are forced to halt the incoming wave. Surprisingly, Hobzato manages to shatter several skeletons with ease, prompting Gobru to order his goblins to begin smashing through the hoarder. Equipping his spear, Gobru begins counting to 10, all whilst dismantling and making his way through the horde of skeletons, only to easily slay the leader. Consuming the skeleton's leader, Gobru gains the skills Summon Lower Undead, High-Tier Equipment Materialization, Mana Absorption, Low Damage Reduction, Low Magic Reduction. Speaking with the kobolds, Gobru learns that Kobold had dug into Velvet's treasury, accidentally awakening the greater skeleton, but had also chosen to lead the undeads towards the goblins' territory. Seeing the kobolds so thankful for the help, Gobru says he'll take care of the wounded, noting how he's gathered quite the crowd. With day 61 arriving, Gobru is seen hunting with Gobkichi, only to suddenly spot 12 armed humans dash past them. Upon secretly following them, Gobru learns that the humans plan to kidnap the chief of the elves' daughter as they return from a festival, and that one of the elves had purposely given the humans the information. With 2 hours passing and the sun setting, the elves appear just as the humans had predicted, but the elven daughter catches Gobru's eyes. In an instant the humans barrage the elves with arrows, moving in close to finish off any surviving elves, only to capture an elven daughter. Having seen enough, Gobru reveals himself, easily tying up the humans with his silk, only to apologize to the fallen elves for not acting sooner. On day 62, Gobru interrogates the humans, learning that the humans plan to invade within 20 days. But after consuming the 12 humans, Gobru learns several new striking skills along with more types of resistance. With several hours passing by, the elven daughter finally awakes, demanding to know where she is, but Gobru can't help but notice her wings. When the elven daughter wonders if Gobru will do naughty things with her, Gobru ignores her, instead offering her some tea and explaining the situation. The elven daughter scolds Gobru for sitting by and watching her comrades be slayed, pushing the elf back. Gobru reiterates that they don't plan to fight alongside either the elves or humans. Gobru also reveals that there is a traitor that assisted the humans with attacking the elven daughter, but seeing the elven girl break down crying, Gobru reasons she should rest for now, and he'll send her home tomorrow. That night, Gobji wonders if he can play with the elf, but Gobru refuses to allow such things. On day 63, Gobru, Gobkichi and the elf begin heading towards her elven village, wondering why the elf has wings, only to learn that higher elves normally hide said wings in their body. Apparently when normal elves level up they sprout wings to fly, but not being used to her wings, the elf can't control her wings yet. With several hours passing by, the gang finally reaches the elves' village, but immediately Gobru sends 25 elves in the trees, all preparing to fire. Intervening, the elven girl cries for everyone to pause, instead taking Gobru and Gobkichi to meet her father, the chief of the village, who is grateful to Gobru for saving her daughter's life. Gobru clears up the situation, stating that he didn't save the chief's daughter expecting anything, but the chief still insists that he reward Gobru. Taking out a special item, the chief unveils the Failknot, an ancient class item that has been passed down their family for years. Seeing the chief genuinely grateful for Gobru saving his daughter's life, Gobru states that he's willing to give the chief some information on the humans, ultimately leading to Gobru befriending the chief, as the chief gifted Gobru with several mithril items in exchange for spirit stone knives and magical items. As Gobru prepares to leave, the chief asks if Gobru had seen their army of 20 that left their village not too long ago, but not wanting to sour their new relationship, Gobru lies, saying he hasn't encountered any elves. As a final parting gift, the chief gives Gobru some of their elven medicine and liquor, something Gobru is very grateful for, savoring the delectable taste for the liquor that night. On day 64, Gobru wakes up, asking for Gobni to wake up as well, but is surprised to see Gobni has evolved into a Dhampir variant, along with 8 other goblins evolving into hobgoblins. Gobru instructs Gobni to keep her glasses on, having received a blessing from the god of ice along with evil eyes that can charm anyone she glares at. Gobru notes how her ice affinity offsets her weakness to sunlight as a vampire, but seeing her new form, Gobru can't help but feel she reminds him of someone. On top of things, Gob had evolved into a half-earth lord, able to now mine through bedrock, fortify her body and has lighting magic for detecting gems. Hobzato also reveals her new half-blood lord evolution, able to manipulate and use her blood as weapons, but as Gobru observes the girls, Gobru notices that they all have acquired tattoos, wondering if the tattoos mean anything. Needing new names, Gobji renames Hobse to Spelse, Gobmi to Dami, Hobzato to Bloodsato, Gob to Earth, Gobkichi to Ogrekichi, Gobji to Hobji, and Gobru is now Ogru. Having established a ranking for everyone's race, Ogru knows that once the human and elf war starts, the elves will surely seek their help, therefore Ogru plans to prepare everyone for combat. Upon giving the kobolds earring devices, Ogru gets annoyed at the female elves for being so reserved, choosing to infuse them with more confidence first. As Ogru begins training the elves and kobolds, Ogru chooses to summon undeads to help with sparring, choosing to equip the skeletons with more heavy-duty armor. As the elves begin to integrate to the goblins' way of life, we cut to day 65. Ogru figures out he can summon regular skeletons, zombies and undeads. Ogru also confirms he can't devour and steal the skills of Ghost, and that the undeads easily burn up in sunlight, but as their population expands over 100, Ogru wonders how he can get the kobolds to grow faster. As Ogru worriedly watch Gobfu devour the flesh of undeads, we cut to day 66, where Ogru and several others are visiting the caves where the kobolds reside. As the kobolds gather their stuff, Earth takes over, sealing the kobolds' homes for good, only for Ogru to order the kobolds to begin hunting down wolves, in order to tame more familiars. Surprisingly, the kobolds manage to tame 20 new wolves, but sadly no pack leader. As the gang return home, Earth runs into a stamp boar, excitedly charging at it, but Earth accidentally beats the boar to a pulp. That night, the blacksmith unveils Ogru's newly modified axe, having infused it with all 4 elemental spirit stones. As Gobru rewards the blacksmith that night, we cut to day 67 where Ogru has assigned the kobolds to continue hunting, only to have a private chat with Ogrekichi, not surprised that Ogrekichi has feelings for Earth. Ogrekichi admits that he can't hold back anymore, asking Ogru for advice, but Ogru simply orders Ogrekichi to confess his feelings tonight. With the full moon in the night sky, Ogrekichi finally musters up the courage to confess his feelings for Earth, who surprisingly accepts Ogrekichi's confession, both embracing. On day 68, Ogru is surprised at how fast Ogrekichi is, happy that Ogrekichi's confession went well, but Ogru secretly reveals that he had Dami help smooth things out for Ogrekichi to confess. Upon confirming that Earth is okay from last night with Ogrekichi, Ogru had Ogrekichi spar with one of his undead summons, only for Ogru and the gang to head out to slay stronger monsters. Upon consuming the monsters, Ogru tries out his new exoskeleton skill, suddenly encasing himself in some tough armor, something that can easily block incoming strikes. Seeing as the armor is too fancy, Ogru unequips it, but also takes the chance to try out his new flight ability, sprouting wings. Finishing off the day with some stamp boar soup, we cut to day 69 where Ogru starts the day by sparring with the redhead, happy that she's making progress. Next Ogru visits the blacksmith, happy to see the elves, Kuru and Uru, are enjoying working for the blacksmith. With the blacksmith and elves working together, they manage to craft a superior crossbow, but that evening, Ogru visits the sisters, learning that they obtained the class, head cook. As Ogru finishes up having the sisters recreate meals from his past life, Ogru visits the alchemist, amazed that the alchemist has produced nails from black skeleton bones that freeze enemies that are struck. As the alchemist makes her advances on Ogru, the other girls join in, leading to day 70, where the elves are visiting to report some news to Ogru. Thanks to the earrings, the elves Ogru captured are disguised as dark elves, but Ogru learns that the humans are finally making their move, as the elf representative proposes an agreement, asking Ogru to slay all the humans. Ogru gladly accepts, handing the elf a device that'll allow Ogru to communicate with the chief. As the elves leave, Ogru gets excited, deeming his army the Parabellum mercenaries, only to order everyone to prepare for war. On day 71, Ogru and his Parabellum mercenaries begin heading out, revealing that they've gathered 36 members, but with Spelsay's help, they've managed to expand to 73 members with the help of familiars. With everyone arriving early to the humans' camp, Ogru spots a magical barrier, noting how the barrier is meant to keep out lower-level monsters than the barrier's human spellcaster. Ordering everyone to surround the barrier, Ogru initiates the battle, infusing his silver arm with a magical spell, converting his arm into a crossbow only to penetrate the barrier with a single projectile. Following up, Earth created earth walls only for Hobsay and Dami to shoot fire and ice spells, all whilst Ogru summoned his hoarder of skeletons whilst firing several more rounds from his arm. As the battle ensued, Ogru was surprised spotting several humans alive, spotting the human leader. As Ogru makes himself well known, the humans spot Ogru, all turning their attention to Ogru. First, one of the human mages carves a path for the frontline humans. Next, the leader of the humans is enchanted with a speed and barrier spell, rushing through the army of skeletons, but unfortunately Ogru simply repels the leader as she strikes. As Ogru compliments the leader's fire spirit, the leader simply demands Ogru to defeat her before acting so close, but seeing as it's an interesting proposal, Ogru gets off his familiar, ordering his army to slay everyone but the Lady Knight, the sorcerer, the priestess and the flame swordsman. As the leader charges up a powerful strike, Ogru sadly reports that his army is simply too overwhelming, spotting Ogrekichi nonchalantly carving through the humans. Dami enchant and have the humans turn on each other with her charming eye. Bloodsato use the blood of the humans to collect more souls and Earth manhandle the remaining humans. Back with Ogru, the Lady Knight managed to reach him with her ignited blade, but sadly her blade is unable to pierce his thick skin. Out of nowhere a dragon spell is casted, with the caster asking for their leader to run. Sadly, since the Lady Knight refuses to flee, the caster is forced to release the level 5 dragon spell onto both the leader and Ogru. Not wanting the Lady Knight to die, Ogru flips the leader around, turning his back to block the spell, only to cast 3 simultaneous barriers, along with a vacuum and water projectiles, completely neutralize the powerful dragon spell. With Ogru's army suffering no casualties, Ogru obtains many skills from the corpses, only to cut to later that day where the elven leader is visiting to celebrate and thank Ogru for protecting them against the humans. As everyone celebrates, Ogru sneaks off to check on the humans, spotting the 2 human women writhing in pain, finally giving in and embracing Ogru as they cry for help. On day 72, Ogru equips his earrings onto the girls that force them to tell the truth, only to begin interrogating them, sharing information on the humans with the elven leader and revealing that the humans plan to attack the elves from multiple directions. On day 73, Ogru and his army waited for the next human army to approach the elven territory, meticulously hiding with preset traps, only to spot an army of 500 humans with 100 wizards among their ranks. Giving the signal, Ogru's army traps the human army with falling trees, only to crush and slay 200 of the humans with some falling boulders. A little more time went by and Ogru's firing squadron ended up whittling down the humans down to 100, prompting the remaining men to create a circle, choosing to bunker down. Spotting the remaining leader of the humans, Ogru orders his army to continue blasting the bunker, all whilst Ogrekichi is ordered to capture the humans' leader. Using their overwhelming army to outwit the remaining men, Ogrekichi manages to find the leader, isolating him only to overpower him. Ogru earns more skills from the corpses, but at that moment, Dami shyly utters that all the fighting had got her worked up, asking Ogru if she can have his baby. On day 74, the captured humans grow annoyed that they've been embarrassed, having been tamed with collars around their necks, but having heard enough the redhead man orders the cocky men to quiet down. Having interrogated the redhead man, Ogru learns that the human versus elf wars started due to the first princess of the human kingdom, Sternbert, suddenly contracted a fatal disease. The princess was also married to the future emperor of the neighboring empire Kilika, someone who knew of the elven medicine that was said to cure all illnesses, and hence the humans declared war on the elves, hoping to find said cure to heal their weakened princess. As Ogru wonders what his next move should be, we cut to Earth, who has accidentally uncovered a heated water source, giving Ogru an idea. Getting to work, Ogru unveils his newly created hot spring. As Ogru, Gobji, Earth, Gobkichi enjoy the bath, we see that the girls have begun scrubbing each other's back, each complimenting the other's fair skin. On day 75, Ogru decided to have the humans begin training with his army, assigning Dami and Spelse with their own armies for a mock battle. But as for Blood Sato and Ogrekichi, they fail to grasp simple concepts for warfare and are forced to sit the mock battles out. At the same time, the redhead man manages to outspar Ogru's summons, demanding that he get to spar with Ogru himself. Impressed, Ogru gives the redhead a physical boost, accepting the redhead's challenge, but still easily overwhelms the man. As Ogru heals the redhead, Ogrekichi offers to spar as well, impressing everyone as the redhead and Ogrekichi both get fired up the longer the battle draws on. Sitting down for a meal, the redhead man reveals that he is very used to speaking with demi-humans, preferring the demi-humans more than humans. Hearing that the redhead man is impressed with how Ogru united everyone, Ogru is impressed to hear that the redhead man wants to work for Ogru moves forward, prompting Ogru to remove the man's collar, and assigning him to train the redhead girl. On day 77, some of the humans Ogru captured refuses to participate in training, hence the elves offer to watch over them instead. Seeing as it's the perfect chance, Ogru asks the elven leaders about this almighty medicine that the elves have, but Ogru is shocked to hear that the elven leader had given Ogru the medicine as a reward for saving his daughter the first time they met. Taking out the medicine, Ogru drinks the potion, obtaining the skill of quick regeneration, blood of panacea. Upon giving one of the captured humans a drop of his blood, everyone is shocked to see the human completely regenerate all wounds, making Ogru wonder how strong he has truly become. As their third interaction with the human army arrives, Ogru is seen tossing his spear, instantly slaying the human captain, only to conjure hundreds of spears to kill off a good chunk of the humans. As Ogru's mercenaries rush in to clean up the rest of the humans, Ogru produces an ooze to consume the human corpses, cutting to day 82, where Ogru is visiting the elven leader. As the elven leader serves up a feast, he thanks Ogru once again for decimating the human armies, but reiterates how he doesn't want any unnecessary bloodshed. Therefore the elven leader plans to give Ogru their greatest elven warriors to ensure their next battle with the humans will end the war. With Ogru listening to what the elven leader has planned, Ogru, the redhead and the female knight ride back on familiars. But the knight takes the chance to request that Ogru at least help cure the sick princess, reasoning that Ogru can save a life and have the kingdom owe him a favor. Although it doesn't sound like a bad plan, Ogru knows that human society worships the 5 great gods, but seeing as Ogru is blessed by the god of demise and origin, he knows he won't be welcome. Thinking for a bit, Ogru comes up with an alternative solution, cutting to day 83, where Ogru's final standoff against the remaining 2,000 humans has arrived. With extra troops from the elves, Ogru's army totals 650, meaning Ogru is completely outnumbered. Additionally, one of Ogru's blood clones had overheard Rugald Orden assisting the humans, someone Ogru learns is one of the 8 heroic braves that have been blessed by the gods. Ogru learns that the braves have the ability to grow stronger the larger their armies are, getting Ogru excited as he begins his attack with his skeleton summons, something Dami doesn't think is the best idea since it's almost daybreak. Ogru reassures everyone that he's already factored that in, ordering Ogrekichi and the others to carve a path for Ogru and his skeletons to invade the center. With the skeletons making contact with humans, the humans intentionally draw out the fight, allowing for the sun to rise, burning the skeletons alive. Luckily, Ogru had equipped his skeletons with a blood coating, allowing them to overwhelm the humans, giving Ogru enough time to finally appear. Ordering his skeletons to retreat, Ogru begins charging up a powerful water and blood spell, all whilst a brave is escorted to the Ogru's position. As Ogru completely decimates the surrounding humans, he begins devouring the corpses of the humans, only for the mysterious brave to appear, asking to duel Ogru. Ogru deduces that the brave standing before him must be Rugald Orden, Filippo the Bonebug Brave, impressing Filippo as he didn't think he was so famous, but Ogru gets weirded out by Filippo's demonic bug-like glare. Filippo begins complaining that Ogru has been causing trouble for him, but Ogru knows that Filippo is so carefree because he is very powerful, even refusing to share what he's blessed with when Filippo asks. Unveiling some bugs he's deemed Undero, Filippo tosses the bugs onto the human corpses, causing the human corpses to suddenly spring to life, but Ogru knows they aren't undead. Seeing as Filippo has sort of parasitic skill, Filippo reveals the difference between heroes and braves is that heroes are more individually strong whereas braves get stronger the larger their armies are. Unleashing his Undero Basala Undead Insect Legion skill, Ogru watches as the human corpses transform into insects, all swarming Ogru, but Ogru manages to easily defend. Impressed, Filippo chooses to take control of the bugs, but Ogru still manages to defend, forcing Filippo to unveil his giant centipede, Altilm, that catches Ogru off guard. As Filippo jumps with joy, he reveals that Altilm is considered a natural disaster, with potent poison able to paralyze its target. As Ogru slowly begins to fall unconscious, Dami suddenly senses Ogru's presence fading, but unfortunately no one can assist Ogru at the moment. With Filippo pitying Ogru's corpse, Filippo sends Altilm away, wondering how he'll dissect Ogru, but suddenly Ogru's corpse disappears. Sensing killing intent, Filippo manages to evade Ogru's surprise attack, deducing that the ogre he killed must have been Ogru's clone. With Ogru refusing to confirm or deny, Filippo takes out one of his secret weapons, but first introduces himself as Filippo Bird Lockarda, ranked 7th in the country. Before Filippo can say anything else, Ogru strikes Filippo with his lightning axe, destroying Filippo's first secret weapon, but this forces Filippo to unveil his second secret weapon. With tentacles protruding from his chest, Filippo punctures some of his bugs, absorbing and transforming into a bug himself, pumping Ogru up as he wants to devour Filippo's skills. As Filippo dashes forward, Ogru severs Filippo's tentacles, forcing Filippo into the air, but Ogru replies by tossing a lighting projectile that Filippo barely dodges. Filippo notes how amazing Ogru is even though Ogru hasn't undergone epic awakening, but refuses to elaborate further, annoying Ogru. Ogru smirks, stating that he'll force the information out of Filippo, but first Ogru equips his insect exoskeleton along with his wings, dashing towards Filippo. As Ogru easily outmaneuvers Filippo in the air, we see Ogru's party have finished up slaying the group of humans on their end, but Dami can't help but feel uneasy, rushing towards Ogru's position. With Ogru declaring that Filippo is defeated, Filippo chuckles, crawling naked out of his bug suit, only to sprint off. When Ogru tries to give chase, he's forced to deal with Filippo's mindless bug suit, pissed that Filippo successfully escaped. With Dami arriving, she's relieved that Ogru is alright, but Ogru revealed that he had another plan all along. Having one of his clones run through the forest with his stealth skill, Ogru managed to find the base of the human leaders, housing the future king. Ogru had his clone give a replica of the elven medicine and in exchange the humans agreed to retreat. With the war over, Ogru admits that he could have easily killed the future king then and there, but knows that would have caused years of unnecessarily bloodshed between humans and elves. As Ogru orders all of the injured to be healed, he allows any knights that survive to return home, but knows he must first take care of something. Having learnt of 6 hobgoblins, 2 hobgoblin mages, 8 goblins, 10 kobolds and 4 elves passing during the war, Ogru and the others give them a proper memorial, promising to avoid future conflict where necessary, and promising to grow stronger to ensure no more lives are taken. On day 84, Ogru wakes up to the terrifying aura of Hobfu, learning that Hobfu had been watching over Ogru all night, weirding Ogru out. Looking around, Ogru is impressed to see Hobji has evolved into a half-saint lord and has been tasked with healing the injured from the war. Ogru is also amazed that Hobji had obtained a light barrier skill, complementary of the half-saint class, able to withstand 20 of Ogru's basic punches. Weirdly, Hobfu continues to praise and admire Hobji's evolution, even though she had evolved into a ghoul, especially devouring all the corpses during the war. With Hobfu admiring the rivalry between Ogru and Ogrekichi, Ogru chooses to ignore Hobfu for now, but suddenly runs into Hobmi, frightened by her new set of eyes. Apologizing for scaring Ogru, Hobmi states that she still isn't used to controlling her new eyes, having evolved into a Dodonki, a class that excels in combat with illusionary magic. Hearing that Hobmi has the skills remote viewing and interscopy, Ogru admits that Hobmi will be able to outclass him in terms of information gathering. Seeing as more goblins have evolved, Gobji has given Hobfu the name Gufu, Hobmi the name Dodome and Hobji the name Seiji. Additionally, Ogru learnt that 7 more hobgoblins had evolved into ogres, amazed that his goblins are mourning their fallen brethren, and are evolving to prevent more goblins' lives from being taken. Checking out the kobolds, Ogru is impressed to see 6 new fleet-foot kobolds, shocked to see the leader of the kobold evolve into a warrior kobold, something that resembles a cocky human, but with the evolution comes the name Akakazi no Suji. Gobji explains that a true name is a way for enemies to cast curse on enemies, meaning it would be best to conceal one's true names, but seeing as the kobold leader's name is too long, Ogru agrees to call him Akita. Wondering what he should do with the prisoners, Ogru calls a meeting for all the prisoners, informing everyone that they may leave whenever, but if they choose to stay they must follow Ogru's orders. Hearing this, several prisoners begin arrogantly declaring that they should be treated with respect, especially because they are stronger than some measly goblins. Ogru declares he could care less how strong they are, as Ogru would trust his goblin brethren to overcome random prisoners he saved. Offended, the prisoners demand to fight Dami for leader of the mercenary, but the prisoners get more cocky realizing that Ogru is the leader of the clan. With Dami holding back her anger, Ogru agrees to duel, prompting 2 of the prisoners to equip their flame orb and gale orb. As the 2 prisoners fuse their attacks, Ogru notes how orb weapons boost one's stats and can repair themselves when damaged, giving Ogru the signal to decimate the two without fear of harming them. With Seiji healing the prisoners, Ogru continues to pummel the other prisoners, but is caught off guard when one of the gorilla-like prisoners tackle Ogru. As the gorilla declares that he'll be leader from now on, Ogru dashes forward, easily incapacitating the gorilla, but praises the gorilla for a smart sneak attack. Realizing that the half-Dhampir prisoner is missing, Ogru gets pissed, spotting the prisoner flirting with Dami, instantly pummeling the prisoner, only to give the poor soul his blood. Luckily, Ogru is happy to see the remaining prisoners are less violent, having a respect for Ogru, as Ogru did free them from their captives. Before Ogru can leave, the half-Dhampir gets on his knees, praising Ogru for his sweet blood, weirding Ogru out as he now resembles Gufu. Visiting the blacksmith, Ogru introduces several dwarves, but the dwarves immediately begin criticizing the blacksmith's work. Heading elsewhere, Ogru begins testing out his new synthesis skill, able to infuse an orb onto his leg to create new armor. Testing out the chaos of the dead skill, Ogru succeeded in summoning a legion monster, but had to put it down when it went rampant. Ogru even tried combining light and sunlight weaknesses, shocked to see the exponential effects when combining two weaknesses. With all the girls listening to Ogru's adventures, we cut to day 85, where Ogru and Earth are working to reconstruct the underground hot spring, hoping to one day open it up to the elves as well. On day 86, Ogru continues to train the provisional recruits, testing his synthesis skills on them to help train them. On day 87, Ogru was handed a warhammer crafted by the dwarves, happy to see the dwarves really appreciate Ogru giving them a new home. That evening, Ogru heads out into the forest, shocked to see that his mere presence scares off nearby monsters, but isn't too surprised to see that the Dryad had found him, forced to spend the day with her to satisfy her. Upon returning home, the girls found out that Ogru had been spending time with another girl, forced to satisfy the girls all throughout the evening. On day 88, Ogru spends time planting new crops, having been handed a special type of magical seeds for fruit and vegetables. As Ogru and the others work hard throughout the day, they wave goodbye to some of their provisional members on day 89, having all decided to head home. On top of things, Ogru had decided to release the knights they captured, but Dami had made sure to charm them all with her eyes, meaning they now have spies within the human ranks. With Ogru learning that the humans have indeed retreated, the elven leader invites Ogru and his members to the Lutrolf banquet, prompting the elves to entertain and put on a show. Ogru wonders if the elves should really be sharing such a sacred festival with outsiders. The elven leader reassures Ogru that sharing this tradition with a friend is the least they could do. The elven leader also reveals that he had a younger brother that sought connections with the outside world, but sadly the elven leader has yet to hear back from him, but is grateful to Ogru for creating a community where his younger brother would be proud to return to. On day 90, Earth had reported that she had dug up the rest of the Spirit Stone, left behind by Velvet and Returner. As a sign of gratitude, Ogru chooses to consume the Spirit Stone, obtaining various gravity magic and spatial resistances. That evening, Ogru makes use of some black skeleton corpses, fusing them with anti-sunlight magic, in order to create a skeleton centipede. Ogru states that he'll be using the centipede as a ride, to take the girls back to their human town, making the girls fear that Ogru dislikes them, but Ogru reminds the girls he had promised the girls their freedom a long time ago. On day 91, Ogru proudly presents his new hot spring facility, allowing more of the citizens to leave, but at the same time the redhead gets scolded by her teacher for not focusing, but is relieved to hear Ogru still prefers to have the girls around. As Ogru spends day 92 with the girls, we cut to day 93, where Ogru holds a welcome party for his new members, but heads over to chat with some of the members that remind Ogru that humans in the kingdom and empire despise demi-humans and that Ogru will need a guarantor from a noble family. Day 94 marks their preparation for departure day. Ogru announces that they'll split into groups, ordering everyone to gather as much intel as possible, that everyone try to defeat the enemies they encounter, that they all try to level up, and most importantly that everyone try to stay alive. With day 95 arriving, everyone is gathered outside, with several people nervous and excited. As Ogru gives his final remarks to his rival Ogrekichi, everyone now splits up, prompting Ogru to admit that he was happy to have learned so much in the forest, but now he'll be heading off to visit the human girl's hometown, the garrison city of Trient. On day 102, Ogru and his party finally arrive at the garrison city, with the residential area of town housing 25% of demi-humans. With some slight troubles getting through the gates, Ogru and his party rent an inn, telling the human girls to spend the time in town deciding if they want to remain with Ogru or return home. As the redhead shows Ogru the guild, the others spend time selling their goods, all whilst Ogru forces his way into the guild, hoping to register their mercenary company. As the redhead handles the paperwork, they all eventually go shopping, but having had enough, Ogru disguises his ogre form with his past lives' human body, heading to gather some more information. As Ogru walks around, he overhears rumors of a terrifying ogre roaming around, sad that his monstrous form won't be able to blend in as well as he had hoped. Heading through an alley, Ogru spots 6 men surrounding him, nonchalantly dismantling them, only to devour and obtain several new abilities. Inspecting the men's equipment, Ogru notices the men all have the same ring, wondering what type of organization these men are from. But out of nowhere Ogru overhears a boy arguing with some men. Hearing the boy demand the men free his mistress, Ogru spots the men wearing the same rings as the 6 he just devoured, watching as the boy tries to apprehend the men, but the boy is easily overpowered. Before the men can dispose of the kid, Ogru steps in, knocking out the men and saving the kid, allowing the men to be free, but has one of his replicas infect the men to track their hideout. Having saved the boy, Ogru gets annoyed that the kid is berating him for not slaying the men, revealing that he is a mercenary, handing the kid his card, only to temporarily reveal his ogre form, heading off. That night, the boy reveals that he was in charge of protecting a princess, but having let his guard down, the princess was kidnapped. Ogru reveals that he had tracked the men's hideout to an abandoned home outside of town, both immediately heading to rescue the princess, but upon seeing the princess is alive and well, Ogru discovers documents showing that the princess's kidnapping was all planned. Burning down the men's house, Ogru orders the boy to not disclose what happened today, but when the boy refuses, Genki is forced to hypnotize the boy into submission, leaving him with the princess. On day 103, Ogru gets word from Seiji that some new goblins and hobgoblins are born, exciting Ogru, but Ogru is more worried about the human girl's answers. Upon meeting up with the girls, Ogru is grateful that all of the girls want to return home with Ogru, but before Ogru is able to leave the inn, the princess from last night greets Ogru. Introducing herself as the first daughter of the Sternbert Kingdom, Rubelia Iceful Sternbert, Rubelia thanks Ogru for saving her, but off to the side the boy apologizes for failing to stop the princess. With Ogru reassuring the boy it's fine, Rubelia reveals that she's come to give Ogru's mercenaries the job of escorting her back to the royal capital of Oswell. Seeing Rubelia so confident in the way she speaks, Ogru respects Rubelia for not fearing him, but Ogru flat out rejects Rubelia's job request. Ogru reminds Rubelia that she has her own guards, scolding Rubelia for not using them, but Rubelia gets amused at how much Ogru cares for her. The boy adds that Ogru will be rewarded with a gold plate on completion, something the human girl knows is worth 1 million gold coins, ultimately convincing Ogru to accept the princess's job. Meeting outside of town, Ogru asks where Rubelia's guards are, shocked to hear Rubelia had left her guards behind, afraid he'll get blamed for kidnapping the princess. Heading out on his skeleton centipede, Ogru can't help but keep the princess entertained, spotting several buffaloes nearby, creatures with high-quality meat and rare medicinal horns. As a quick-lung Brea, Dami and Ogru hunts down some buffaloes, enjoying some steaks, only to continue their journey. Stopping near a body of water, the redhead is tasked with dueling a blade rabbit, at first overwhelmed by its speed, but manages to slay and devour it. As they continue their journey, Ogru can't help but grow more annoyed at how Rubelia is acting, putting her in timeout when she gets too close to monsters, only to spank her for not listening. On day 104, the gang encounters shelled turtle snakes, prompting Ogru to ask Neki, Fuki and Genki to help hunt them, but when the trio refuse, Ogru simply deals with them himself. Working with the chef sisters, Ogru manages to cook up some turtle snake broiled in soy sauce, only to all enjoy the delectable taste. Continuing their adventure, Ogru admits that Rubelia's curiosity for the outside world is fascinating, but does get annoyed that the princess loves sitting on top of his shoulder. Ogru had learnt that the boy watching over the princess is a knight specifically assigned to watch over the princess, meaning Ogru plans on training the knight, agreeing to train the princess as well. With Ogru forcing the boy to not overly rely on his skills in class, Ogru spots the princess working hard as well, impressed at the princess's dedication. That night, Ogru and his party had passed the mountains, making everyone discuss their next best route options. The boy suggests that they take a longer route, as the shortest route is littered with fillets eagles, the strongest creatures within their current terrain, being extremely agile whilst housing paralytic toxins. The boy also mentions how the leader of the eagles, the Jade Eagle, is in a different league from the usual monsters Ogru encounters, ultimately convincing Ogru to hunt down the Jade Eagle. On day 105, Ogru stands atop of the carriage, luring in several eagles, only to hunt them for some fried eagle. As the day goes by, Ogru detects a powerful enemy approaching, warning everyone to remain within the carriage, all whilst Ogru stands before the Jade Eagle. With an hour passing, Ogru's party grows nervous not hearing anything from Ogru, prompting Neki to wonder if they should flee, but Dami states that she'll hunt down the creature if Ogru needs their help. With everyone peeking outside, they suddenly spot Ogru's severed arm, watching as the eagles begin to circle Ogru. Having drawn on the battle long enough, Ogru chooses to devour his own severed arm, immediately regenerating his wounds only to equip his armor. Unleashing his thread, Ogru manages to trap the eagle, pulling the creature in close, only to smash it out of the air. Upon inspecting the creature's corpse, Ogru spots a soul stone, something the girls recognize as a very rare item, with 1 in 100 bosses even dropping such an item, as the stone can be used to craft powerful items. As Ogru devours the Jade Eagle, he acquires new skill along with wings for his exoskeleton, but Rubelia wonders why Ogru consumes the monsters he's slayed. Ogru thinks about how he was asked the exact same question in his previous life, revealing that Ogru wants to appreciate and honor those who choose to challenge Ogru and are defeated, ultimately carrying on their skills and wishes. As Ogru and his party arrive at the village of Mason on day 109, but with the villagers laying eyes on Ogru's monstrous form, they immediately prepare to attack. Stepping in, Rubelia reveals her Sternberg royal crest, shocking Ogru as all the villagers immediately make way for Ogru's monster party to enter the village. Heading directly for a gorgeous waterfall, Ogru reveals that they found out about this waterfall in town, leading Rubelia to play in the water only to tease Dami by splashing Dami water with some water. That evening, Ogru makes use of their party's presence to take up the entire hot spring, but Rubelia takes the chance to argue that her body is far superior than the redheads. That night, Ogru's party and the village celebrate with some alcohol, leading to some song and dance, but sadly one of the villagers tried hitting on Dami, ultimately beating him into a pulp. As Ogru diffuses the situation with a drinking game, we cut to several hours later where most of the villagers have blacked out from drinking or dancing too much, leaving Ogru alone to consume and gain new skill from some fish. On day 110, Ogru and his party leave Mason Village, heading straight towards the Cluster Mountains. Ogru notes how the day should be peaceful, letting everyone in the carriage know that they'll be at the foot of the mountain by tomorrow, but upon learning that the chef sisters are exhausted from cooking all night, Ogru promises to cook and give the sisters time to rest. On day 111, the sisters ask that Ogru should slow down the carriage, revealed to be pregnant with Ogru's children. Ogru is surprised that their bellies are already so big in only one day, calling Gobji and asking if they should return home at once, but Gobji reveals that ogre children steal nutrients from their mothers and be born quickly, but since the mothers are humans there is a chance the sisters will pass away after giving birth. As Ogru's party rush to find a place to deliver the babies, the sisters grow more and more tired. Rubelia feels sad, unable to help out, but when the sisters see Ogru's stressed expression, they reassure Ogru that they'll be fine. With some more time passing, the alchemist spots the sisters' arms have become so skinny and the girls are growing weaker by the second, meaning they need something that will give them nutrients to counteract the changes to their bodies. Coming up with an idea, Ogru severs his own arm, asking the girls to satiate themselves with his raw flesh, but the sisters are clearly against eating Ogru's meat. With no other choice, Ogru is forced to mouth-feed the girls, declaring that he refuses to allow the sisters nor their children to die, ultimately making the girls give in. Finally arriving at a cave, the three lords take care of the bears, allowing Ogru to create 2 beds for the sisters, where the sisters begin to writhe in pain. As Ogru pumps the girls with healing and anesthesia, he remains by their side for hours, spotting the oldest sister's child mature first, prompting Ogru to call Seiji and ask him to learn from their upcoming procedure. As Ogru equips a small operating blade, Ogru manages to successfully deliver the older sister's baby girl and the younger sister's baby boy, and any wounds the sisters received were instantly healed with Ogru's blood. As Ogru's party celebrates a successful procedure, Ogru takes some time to himself, calming his nerves, but also learns that his 2 children are mixed blood ogres, creatures with only 1 horn. GOBLIN reveals that the world is cruel to mixed blood creatures, as most humans and demi-human relationships lead to a child that takes after their demi-human father, but there is still a chance that the child takes after both parents. This ultimately leads the mixed blood to be hated by both sides, but Ogru reassures GOBLIN that he'll give all his children as much love and protection as they need. Butting in, Seiji reassures Ogru that everyone at home is okay with accepting Ogru's children for who they are, but also adds that next time the babies can be delivered before maturity and fed until mature, putting less strain on the human mothers. Ogru also notes how his children have orbs growing from their hands, signaling the potential of future lords. Ogru decides to name the oldest sister Oro and the younger brother Argento, proud of the older sister Felicia Tamiano and the younger sister Alma Tamiano for believing in him all the way. On day 112, Ogru decided to head out of the cave into the freezing snow, stumbling onto a majestic-looking white deer. At a glance, Ogru detects that the deer is a boss class, one that will easily slay Ogru if he isn't careful, but having not fought in a while, Ogru equips his armor ready for a grueling fight. With Ogru and the deer standing off, Ogru waits for the deer's first move, but instead is shocked to see the deer shed its antlers, sprinting off before Ogru could react. Amazed at the quality of the antlers, Ogru wonders what skills he'll acquire from consuming them, but upon remembering his children chooses to store them and share them later. As Ogru continues trekking through the snow, he stumbles onto a brawl between some humans and beastmen, deeming the boss of the beastmen Balor. Ogru is impressed at the humans' power, able to overwhelm the beastmen and even Balor, but Balor reveals his trump card, blasting the humans with a powerful spell. With the humans unable to keep up with Balor's overwhelming magic, Ogru is forced to intervene by firing a single shot that splits into 4, decimating Balor and saving the humans. Revealing himself to the humans, Ogru gets excited thinking about how he'll get to face the human party, but is also curious as to how he'll be storing the massive head of Balor. As the leader of the humans prepares to fight, Ogru suddenly detects immense potential from the human, choosing to hide the fact that he stole their prey, and instead offering to heal the humans' wounds in exchange for the corpse of the beastman. With Ogru bidding the humans farewell, the humans wonder what kind of person Ogru was, shocked to have run into an ogre of all places. The leader utters that he believes Ogru hasn't reached epic level status yet, but reveals that his skill premonition of death showed him that Ogru would have wiped out their entire party even though Ogru is still so low level. Returning back to the cave by nightfall, Ogru munches on Balor's corpse, gaining various skills, but is even more pleased to learn that his children are already capable of walking. First, Ogru fed his children the deer antler, happy to see his children glow due to a power increase, but when Ogru and the redhead consumed some of the antler, the redhead gains the title of Sacred Beast Eater, giving Ogru cold sweats as the sacred beast deer would have been way out of his league. That night as Ogru and his party head to bed, he asks what he'll do with the skills he can't see, suddenly getting a prompt to further evolve into an apostle lord. Blindly picking yes, Ogru has been assigned the true name of Yaden Doji, along with the unique ability of Marshal of Pandemonium and Twilight Demon Eater. Upon acquiring several new things, the prompt suddenly shows an error, showing Ogru needs to meet requirements to unlock 2 unique skills. Afterwards, Ogru obtains the special ability Heretic Nemesis, Fate Plunder and Legend of the Black Eclipse Demon, ultimately buffing his subordinates as well. On day 113, everyone wakes up to a shrunken Ogru, but will a more powerful aura. On day 114, Ogru and the gang learn that the alchemist and the blacksmith are now pregnant, but this time everyone knows what to do, all heading towards a body of water. After stopping for a while, Ogru happily reports Spinel Fiend the alchemist and Emery Furlet the blacksmith have now given birth to their own children as well, Glady naming Emery's son Oniwaka due to it being a high ogre, and Spinel's human girl Nicola. As Rubelia gets intrigued at how big Oniwaka is, Ogru and his party begin to head out, setting their sights on their final checkpoint before heading to the city of Purgatory. On day 115, Rubelia dons a disguise now that they are in a town, fearing that she'll be recognized. Ogru states that the human mothers will be staying in the inn and taking care of their children. As for the others, Ogru orders them to help gather intel at the Adventurers Guild, threatening to punish them if they refuse. Upon arriving at the guild, the redhead tells Ogru about the training area, intriguing Ogru as many adventurers begin gathering around Ogru, wondering how strong Ogru is. Ogru knows that he could easily take them all on, but instead orders the Neki, Fuki and Genki to spar with the adventurers instead, offering to pay anyone silver plates if they defeat the trio. As the trio fend for their life, Ogru forces Dami to sit by and watch, fearing that Dami may slaughter everyone. With the trio able to survive the onslaught, Ogru proudly declares that they all belong to the Parabellum mercenaries, handing out their business cards. Later that day, Ogru, Dami and the redhead do some shopping, but Ogru stumbles onto a device that resembles a camera, instantly snatching it up only to head back to the inn where Ogru begins snapping memories of his kids. That night, Ogru thinks about how they'll be heading to the capital of Oswell in a few days, reasoning that he should update and check up on the other members of his company. First contacting Bloodsado's Group 3, Ogru learns that everything is running smoothly, but is surprised to hear Spellsay had acquired an unusual amount of magic books. Spellsay reveals that they used elves to lure out bandits and kidnappers, looting the bad guys' stuff, something Ogru is completely fine with. Next, Ogru learns that Dodome, the leader of Group 5, has been working hard gathering intel, rewarding Dodome with some days off. Checking into Group 4, Ogru notices all the members arguing about who should take charge, but coming up with an idea, Ogru simply assigns Hobrin to be their leader, leaving her to sort things out. Finally moving on to Ogrekichi's Group 2, Ogru wonders if what he saw was right, accidentally waking up Dami when Ogru utters that he saw his own self die through Ogrekichi's party. On day 116, Ogru gathers his group, telling them about the image of himself dying, asking to first head towards the maze city of Griffos where Group 2 is currently. With the princess learning that it may delay their trip by 2 days, Lubelia agrees to visit the Griffos, seeing as they are already ahead of schedule. With Ogru thanking the princess for understanding, we cut to day 117 where they're halfway towards Griffos, but Ogru takes any chance he gets to spend time with his children during the journey. Spotting Dami sitting alone admiring her necklace, Ogru wonders why Dami still has the necklace he gave her so long ago, but Dami reminds Ogru that it's only been 4 months since they've been birthed. Dami mentions how amazing Ogru is getting stronger every day, scolding herself for remaining as a Dhampir and not birthing a child like the others, but Ogru butts in declaring that he'll treat all the girls equally, no matter if they give him children or not. On day 118, the gang arrive at Griffos where Ogru believes Ogrekichi and his are within the town's dungeon, but out of nowhere several men run out screaming about a minotaur-looking creature that could defeat a lord. Ogru remembers the head of the town talking about a monster in the dungeon, but upon seeing Ogrekichi and Earth's new form, Ogru realizes that Ogrekichi's party is fine, but Ogrekichi takes the chance to mention how small Ogru has gotten. Ogru demands to know why he saw himself being slayed by Ogrekichi, learning that Ogrekichi and his party had made it deep into the town dungeon, encountering a monster called the Mind Mirror. The creature began morphing into Ogrekichi's strongest adversary, this being Ogru, but when Ogrekichi dueled the monster, Ogrekichi was instantly struck down. At that moment, Ogrekichi received a terminal announcement offering Ogrekichi a sudden blessing that ended up evolving Ogrekichi, and with that new strength Ogrekichi was able to strike down the copy of Ogru, explaining why Ogru saw himself die. Ogru is impressed to see Ogrekichi as a new form of Minotaur species and Earth is officially an Earth Lord variant, but since they will be staying in town for the night, Ogru and Ogrekichi agree to have a duel to test their new strength. With everyone gathered around to watch a spectacle, Rubelia gets nervous seeing Ogru fight Ogrekichi, but Dami reassures Rubelia that they've been best friends from birth. Ogru praises Ogrekichi's new aura, hearing Ogrekichi reveal that he's been working hard to grow stronger in order to remain equal with Ogru, but as Ogrekichi equips his axe and shield, Ogru matches it with his spear. As both lunge at each other, Ogru manages to block Ogrekichi's axe, jumping back as he notes how heavy Ogrekichi's axe is. Out of nowhere, Ogrekichi leaps forward, forcing Ogru to parry his axe, but Ogrekichi releases an explosion, impressing Ogru as Ogrekichi wields both lightning and fire blessings. Luckily Ogru has complete resistance to lightning, but admits that Ogrekichi's fire affinity will cause him some trouble. Seeing Ogrekichi so fired up, Ogru can't help but match Ogrekichi's energy, charging face first once again, but being stuck at a standstill. Ogru begins conjuring several water and earth spells to attack Ogrekichi from behind, but Ogrekichi had already anticipated this, howling to blow Ogru away only to deal with the earth and water projectiles. Seeing Ogru in the air, Ogrekichi releases a phantom from his shield, driving Ogru towards a wall, but seeing as he has no choice, Ogru unleashes his transcendental adamantite power, boosting all his stats and allowing Ogru to lift up and toss Ogrekichi away. Next, Ogru begins thrusting his spear at Ogrekichi, combining his attacks with a speed boost to force Ogrekichi to permanently stay on the defense. Roaring, Ogrekichi creates a massive explosion, leaping into the air, and using his shield to block any projectiles Ogru sends his way. Igniting his shield, Ogrekichi prepares to destroy the entire arena to win, but Ogru curses at Ogrekichi to stop, making Ogrekichi realize that he will harm all the spectators and their own family in the process. Luckily, Ogru had absorbed all the damage from Ogrekichi's devastating attack, activating his demon eyes that temporarily petrified Ogrekichi. Dashing forward, Ogru ignites his fist, disciplining Ogrekichi for being so thoughtless of surroundings, reminding Ogru of the first time he had to discipline Ogrekichi. On day 121, the gang finally arrive at the capital of Oswell, but upon seeing the beautiful city, Ogru reveals that Ogrekichi and himself sparred a whole day, only to return to each other's groups. As Ogru enters the capital, he's impressed by the neatly kept roads and the indoor plumbing, something Rubilia states is thanks to their nation's boundless wisdom. With Rubila dragging Ogru to see her home, the knight tells everyone that the Umber Palace in the capital specifically belongs to Rubilia and her family, but the palace is one of many, shocking the girls as their cave doesn't compare to a single palace. Finally removing her disguise, Rubilia thanks Ogru and his party for guarding her along her journey, stating that she'll reward Ogru for such a good job, inviting everyone to stay the night. With everyone making themselves at home, they stuff themselves with delicious food, only to head to bed, but that night the alchemist wakes up terrified. The alchemist mentions how weirdly soft and massive the beds are, something the blacksmith agrees with, but as we cut to the sisters are also not used to the luxurious life, but are relieved their children are fast asleep. With day 122 arriving, Ogru wakes up from his amazing sleep, meeting Rubilia, who pays Ogru his reward for escorting her home. Upon finding out that Rubilia is also giving Ogru an all-access to the kingdom, a princess bill. Taking the chance, Ogru questions Rubilia if she should really be giving his so much power, but taking a second to think, Rubilia states that she has already gauged Ogru's personality on their journey together. Rubilia mentions how Ogru always takes the most optimal fight in and out of battle, and is someone that always weighs their risk and reward, deducing that Ogru would never use the princess bill to harm the kingdom in any way. Seeing Rubilia reveal her true cunning self, Ogru admits that Rubilia's innocent demeanor was hiding her genius personality, happy to hear that Rubilia intends to work with Ogru in the future, something Ogru isn't so against since he's now friends with a young strategist that is also a princess. Beginning to head off, Rubilia's knight thanks Ogru for all the help, apologizing since the palace guards wouldn't allow Rubilia to see everyone off. With the knight waving goodbye to the gang, Ogru sets off, revealing that he has scattered his blood replicas all over the royal capital, knowing that he'll come back to Oswell someday. On day 124, Ogru and his party take the shortest route back to the forest, but Ogru can't help but notice how sad Dami is, shocked to see how strong Ogrekichi had become. Calming Dami down, Ogru learns that Dami is level 89, pleased as Ogru reminds Dami that he'll never leave her behind, promising to help Dami get stronger whenever she likes. With Dami accepting Ogru's offer, Ogru immediately stops the carriage, summoning some lesser giants, ordering Dami to begin training. Charging head first into the summons, Dami ends up training all throughout the day, ending the training with 5 Formoyans, 10 black trolls and 20 ogres slayed. Still annoyed that she hasn't gotten stronger, Dami wonders if she should continue, but suddenly collapses, forcing Ogru to catch her. As Ogru returns to their camp, Ogru reveals he also feels a little drowsy, something the alchemist recognizes as mana depletion, something Ogru rarely experiences. With the sisters cooking a meal for everyone, the gang head to bed, but that night Dami is seen meeting the qualifications to evolve into a Glacier Empress along with becoming the concubine of Ogru. The next morning on day 125, Ogru is woken up by Dami's new evolved form, a vampire noble variant. Leaning in close, Dami whispers her true name as Hekaterina, deeming herself one of Ogru's wife. Suddenly breaking into tears, Dami admits that she was acting a little cheesy, but seeing Dami smiling again, Ogru gives Dami a big hug, relieved that Dami is back to her old cheerful self. On day 126, Ogru's party finally arrives at their forest, beelining it for the cave as they feel a little homesick. Shockingly, as they arrive at the entrance of the cave, Ogru is shocked to see the cave has changed, greeting Ogrekichi and Bloodsato's party, along with the others who reveal that they've renovated the cave as a surprise for Ogru. Earth admits that they still have some work to do, but for now choose to show Ogru and the others around, starting with a farm they plan to grow food to be more self-sufficient. Out of nowhere, the Dryad appears, having leveled up, and asks Ogru to call her Dorian. Stopping by to greet his familiars in the ranch, Oguru also notices some new residents, cat-siths, adorable creatures that Dami adores. Suddenly, Seiji rushes to tell Oguru about Gobji's poor condition, but upon seeing Gobji in his frail state, Oguru takes the chance to introduce him to Argento, Oro, Oniwaka and Nicola. With Gobji amazed by the goblins he raised, Oguru takes the chance to rename himself as Aporu, since he's now an apostle lord. Ogrekichi will now also be Minokichi, after his Minotaur species. Dami will be Kanami and Earth will keep her name. With Minokichi, Kanamiya and Earth agreeing to take those names, Gobji smiles at how far everyone has come, finally passing away in peace. Sending Gobji off with a fiery memorial, Aporu mentions how Gobji was actually 20 years old, promising to treasure his years with the ones he loves. Turning to face the crowd, Aporu states that they'll be holding a fighting tournament to show off how strong they've become, but Aporu does take the chance to adore his children all dressed up. Aporu states that duels will continue until one person surrenders, and that killing is forbidden, reminding everyone that they can change their rankings if they perform well. First off is the redhead, with her master, then Dami and Spelse who choose to show off their new fire and ice spells. Next Earth and Bloodsato enter the ring, but as the others get a chance at their own duels, Aporu and Minokichi finally enter the ring. With both parties acknowledging the other's strength, they fight until sundown, ending the tournament with Aporu as the strongest, Minokichi in second place, Kanami in third, Earth in fourth, Bloodsato in fifth, Spelse in sixth, Neki in seventh, Fuki in eighth, the Redhead Knight in ninth, Gufu in 10th, the Redhead in 11th, Genki in 12th, Dodome in 13th, and most of the other party's leaders yielded upper ranks as well. As the party ends the day with a well-earned meal, Aporu takes the chance to admire his party, grateful to be surrounded by so many hard workers. On day 127, Rubelia contacts Aporu at night, annoying Aporu as he knows Rubelia is up to no good. Rubelia mentions how she can make Aporu's 400-member party more famous, something Aporu praises Rubelia for knowing he needs. The season ends with Aporu informing his Parabellum mercenaries, informing everyone that they'll be heading to the capital of Oswell, excited at what awaits them in the future. Check out one of our other videos on the screen or in the info card above. Subscribe, like and comment.